The grand chamber was dark, lit only by the faint blue glow of distant stars. Inside, the most powerful species in the galaxy gathered in a circle, their seats hovering above the floor. This was the Galactic Tribunal, a place where the fate of entire civilizations could be decided with a single word. The air was thick with tension as the debate over humanity's future reached its climax. Enough of this. A sharp voice cut through the murmurs of the council. It belonged to a towering reptilian alien named Zevran, the representative of the HFY Empire. His voice echoed through the chamber, commanding attention. He raised a single clawed finger, and the entire room fell silent. "I propose that we eliminate the human race," Zevran declared, his eyes glinting with a cold, calculating gleam. "They are a threat to the stability of the galaxy. We have watched them for centuries, and it's clear that they will soon become the most dangerous force in the universe. It is time to act before they grow too powerful." The members of the council exchanged uneasy glances. Some nodded in agreement, while others looked uncomfortable. The HFY Empire was one of the largest and most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, known for their ruthless efficiency and military might. If they were suggesting such a thing, it must have been serious. But just as the murmurs began to rise, a voice interrupted them. It was deep and calm, with an air of authority that made everyone stop in their tracks. "You do not understand what you are proposing," a figure said, rising from his seat. His form was humanoid, but his features were smooth and ethereal. His skin shimmered with the soft glow of ancient energy, and his eyes were an unsettling shade of gold. He was Ambassador Kale, the representative of the most ancient and wise species in the galaxy, the Arcanos. Kale's words hung in the air for a moment, heavy with meaning. The council fell silent, waiting for him to continue. "If you value your lives at all, you will listen to me," Kale continued, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Humans are not what you think they are. They are not weak, and they are not easily destroyed. If you decide to go against them, you will regret it. I speak from experience." The council members looked at each other, uncertain. Zevran's proposal seemed simple enough: wipe out a primitive species before they could grow any more dangerous. Yet the way Kale spoke made them uneasy. There was something about the way he carried himself that demanded attention, as though he knew something they didn't. Zevran sneered, but before he could respond, Kale raised a hand, signaling him to remain silent. "I will show you," Kale said, his voice firm. "I will show you why we, the Arcanos, have learned the hard way that humanity is not to be trifled with." As the tribunal fell into a stunned silence, Kale's eyes narrowed. In an instant, the air in the chamber shimmered, and the atmosphere shifted. The walls seemed to fade away, replaced by the stark, cold darkness of deep space. The council members gasped as they found themselves in a vast, empty void, floating before a huge display screen. "Let me take you back," Kale began, his tone calm and collected. "Let me take you back to a time when humans were nothing more than an unknown species, just another fragile race on a small, insignificant planet. A time when we, the great and powerful beings of the galaxy, had no idea what they were capable of." The screen flickered, and the galaxy disappeared. In its place appeared a small blue planet, Earth. 2 centuries ago," Kale said, his voice quiet but filled with meaning, "we, the most powerful species in the galaxy, thought we could easily crush them. They were nothing more than a primitive species, trapped on their death world, surrounded by beasts and war. We laughed at them. We mocked them. We were wrong." A flash of light, and the scene shifted. The council was now watching a small group of humans, armed with simple weapons, struggling to survive on a barren battlefield. The humans fought, but they were clearly outmatched, their numbers too few to stand against the overwhelming alien forces. The alien forces were ruthless, cutting down the humans with ease. But then something strange happened. One of the humans, a young soldier, made a desperate move, something no one had expected. With nothing but his willpower and a scrap of technology, he used their weapons against them. And then, another human soldier followed suit. Then another. The humans began to fight back, not with overwhelming numbers, but with cunning, precision, and an unyielding desire to survive. Their primitive tech, combined with their unrelenting resolve, made them a force to be reckoned with. The council watched, transfixed, as the humans pulled off one impossible victory after another. The Cathar fleet, once thought unbeatable, was decimated. Humans, with their limited resources and seemingly weak weapons, had fought against the galaxy's most advanced species and won. Kel's voice cut through the silence. We underestimated them. We thought they were weak, insignificant, but we learned the hard way that humans are unlike any species we have ever encountered. They are not to be taken lightly. As the final image faded away, the tribunal chamber returned to its normal state. The council members looked stunned, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had seen the humans' resilience, their intelligence, and their refusal to accept defeat. They were no longer the laughing stock of the galaxy. Kale stood tall, his gaze steady and unblinking. "So I ask you again," he said, his voice full of authority. "Do you still believe it is a good idea to eliminate them?" The silence in the room was deafening. The council members were no longer sure of their position. They had seen what humans were capable of, and they were no longer certain that wiping them out was the right decision. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, one of the council members spoke up. We cannot ignore what we have just witnessed. Perhaps there is more to humanity than we realized." Kale nodded, his expression somber. "Exactly. And if you make the mistake of underestimating them again, you will find yourselves facing a force unlike any other. A force that can change the fate of the entire galaxy." The cold void of space was silent, a vast and empty expanse, where only the echoes of distant stars and the hum of engines filled the air. For the Jorith Empire, a mighty civilization known for its advanced technology and military might, space was their domain. They ruled vast stretches of the galaxy, conquering planet after planet with ease. But there was one planet they had never taken seriously: Earth. The Jorith had long considered humanity a primitive species, too weak and undeveloped to be of any real concern. They had watched from afar, studying Earth's history, noting the planet's wars, its rise and fall of civilizations, and its technological growth. To the Jorith, humans were nothing more than another species destined to be wiped out by the greater powers of the universe. The idea that humans could ever stand against them was laughable. But the Jorith were about to learn just how wrong they were. In the shadow of a distant star, the Jorith fleet gathered, massive warships looming in the void, their engines thrumming with power. Their mission was simple: invade Earth, crush the humans, and establish a new colony on their planet. It was supposed to be an easy conquest, a mere formality. No one, not even the Jorith, had expected humanity to fight back. At the heart of the Jorith fleet was the flagship Emperor's Wrath, a behemoth of metal and power. On board, the commanders and strategists sat in a grand war room, studying the Earth from their holographic projections. General Varnak, a ruthless and calculating leader, stood at the center, observing the plan unfold. "We will reach Earth's orbit in 2 hours," Varnak said, his voice deep and commanding. "Once we arrive, we expect no resistance. They will surrender immediately. Humanity's fate is sealed." His words were met with murmurs of agreement from his officers, their confidence unwavering. After all, they were the Jorith, superior in every way. The humans had no chance. But far from the comforts of the Jorith war room, on Earth, the humans were preparing in ways the invaders could never have imagined. The bright blue and green orb of Earth hung in the vastness of space, beautiful and serene, yet unaware of the impending threat. Down on the surface, the world was in chaos. News of the Jorith invasion had spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to prepare for the worst, and military forces mobilized across the globe. But it wasn't the governments that were the true hope of Earth. It was its people. At the center of Earth's defense was Captain Marcus Carter, a young commander whose reputation as a brilliant strategist had spread throughout Earth's military. Marcus was only in his early 30s, but his calm demeanor and sharp mind had earned him the respect of his peers. He had spent years studying enemy tactics and human history, preparing for the worst. And now, the worst had arrived. Marcus stood in the command center of Earth's most advanced space station, the Vanguard, watching as the stars flickered on the massive screens before him. The Joreth fleet was approaching, and the entire world was holding its breath. But Marcus wasn't afraid. He knew exactly what he had to do. Captain, his second-in-command, Lieutenant Emily Davis, said as she approached, "The Joreth fleet is almost within range. The world is counting on us." Marcus nodded, his eyes fixed on the screen. "We'll give them a fight they'll never forget." He turned to face his crew, a team of the brightest minds Earth had to offer. "Prepare all defense systems. Activate the cloaking shields on the fleet. We won't give them the chance to see us coming." The crew moved quickly, their hands flying over controls, activating advanced systems designed to level the playing field against the Joreth's overwhelming technological advantage. Earth's technology wasn't as advanced as the Joreth's, but it had something they didn't, a fierce will to survive. As the Vanguard and its fleet of Earth's finest ships moved into position, Marcus and his team watched the incoming alien fleet. The Joreth ships, sleek and menacing, moved forward without hesitation. They were confident, almost too confident. They had no idea what was coming. Back in the heart of the Joreth fleet, General Varnek's eyes gleamed with arrogance as the fleet neared Earth. He glanced at his screen, watching Earth grow larger by the moment. "We will take control of their planet in no time," he said with a sinister grin. "Prepare to land the first wave. Once we have the humans under our control, they will bow before us." His officers nodded, ready to carry out their orders. But as they moved to activate the landing protocols, something strange happened. The screens flickered, and then went dark. "What is this?" Varnek growled, slamming his fist on the table. "Get the power back online now." But it was too late. The cloaking shields had activated, and Earth's fleet had vanished from view. The Joreth were no longer sure where the human forces were. A chill ran down Varnek's spine as he realized what had happened. "They've cloaked themselves," one of his officers said, panic creeping into his voice. "We can't see them. We've lost all tracking systems." For the first time, General Varnek's confidence wavered. "Impossible. No species has ever developed cloaking technology that advanced. This must be a trick." But as the Joreth fleet moved into position over Earth's orbit, Marcus's voice came over their comm system. "This is Captain Marcus Carter of Earth's Vanguard. We've been expecting you, General. I hope you're ready for a fight." The word sent a shockwave through the Joreth fleet. Marcus's voice was calm, confident, and most of all, it carried a weight of authority that no one had expected from a species they had so thoroughly underestimated. The moment the transmission ended, Earth's fleet revealed itself, emerging from the cloaking shields in full force. A barrage of missiles, laser beams, and energy blasts lit up the darkness of space as Earth's ships attacked the Joreth fleet. The Joreth were taken completely by surprise. They had never anticipated such a well-coordinated, powerful response from a species they had written off as weak. The battle in space was intense. Earth's fleet, though smaller and less technologically advanced than the Joreth's, fought with a ferocity that sent the invaders reeling. Human ships, using tactics the Joreth could not predict, moved swiftly through the chaos, dodging incoming fire and launching pinpoint strikes at the Joreth warships. Each blow from the humans was calculated, precise, and devastating. General Varnek cursed as his flagship, the Emperor's Wrath, took heavy damage. The Joreth had not expected humans to fight back like this, and their own ships were falling faster than they could respond. It became clear Earth wasn't going to just surrender. Back on Earth, Marcus watched the battle unfold on his command center screen, his face illuminated by the flickering lights of the battle. The battle had just begun, but the humans had already proven their strength, and Marcus knew that this was only the start of something bigger, a war that would shape the fate of the entire galaxy. "We've only just begun," he said softly, his voice filled with determination. "Let them underestimate us. It will be their downfall." The battle raged on in the vast emptiness of space. Above Earth's orbit, the once pristine blue planet had turned into the backdrop of a war between two vastly different civilizations. On one side, the Jorath Empire, armed with technology far superior to anything humanity had ever imagined. On the other, Earth's forces, fighting with grit, determination, and a will to survive. The humans had caught the Jorath completely off guard. They had underestimated Earth's ability to fight back, expecting only a quick surrender. But now, the Jorath were facing a fight they never saw coming, and it was more than just a battle of weapons. It was a battle of willpower, strategy, and heart. "No," Marcus whispered, his fists clenching. "Not like this." But it was too late. A final explosion erupted from the defluent, and Bonner's signal was lost. The ship was gone. The battle in space raged on. But for Marcus, the loss of Bonner hit hard. He had been more than a friend. Bonner had been a brother, someone who had shared the same dreams, the same struggles. Now that brother was gone, and all Marcus could do was fight in his honor. "Captain, we got more incoming," Emily said, her voice tight with urgency. "The Jorath aren't done yet. They're regrouping." Marcus nodded, wiping the sweat from his brow. "They won't stop, but neither will we." The Jorath, despite their losses, had not given up. Their ships regrouped, their commanders rethinking their strategies. They had been taken by surprise once, but they were not about to make the same mistake again. The battle was far from over, and Marcus knew it. But now, the fight was personal. The pain of Bonner's death burned within him, but it also fueled his resolve. He could hear Bonner's voice in his head, telling him to keep fighting, to never give up. And so Marcus pushed forward, rallying his fleet for the next phase of the battle. "We will not let them take this from us," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside him. "We fight for Bonner. We fight for Earth." As Earth's fleet continued to clash with the Jorath, the tide of battle slowly began to turn. The Jorath, once so confident in their superiority, now found themselves on the defensive. Humanity's unexpected resistance had shaken them to their core. And though the Jorath fleet was far from defeated, they knew that they had made a terrible mistake in underestimating the humans. For Marcus, the battle was far from over. But as long as there was breath in his lungs, he would fight. Fighting for Bonner, fighting for Earth, and fighting for the future of humanity. The victory felt sweet. For the first time, the Jorath Empire had tasted defeat at the hands of humanity. The orbital bombardment had been a devastating blow to their forces, leaving their fleet scattered and vulnerable. The humans, underestimated for so long, had shown the galaxy just how powerful they could be. Yet, the victory came at a heavy price. Captain Marcus Carter stood alone in the quiet of the command center, staring out at the vastness of space. Earth's fleet had fought valiantly, but the battle wasn't over. The Jorath Empire, although staggered, was far from defeated. They were regrouping, recovering from the shock, and learning from their mistakes, and they still had their superiority in technology, which they hadn't fully unleashed yet. Despite their victory, the human forces had suffered significant losses. The Defiant was gone, and with it, Bonner, one of the best soldiers humanity had ever known. The grief weighed heavily on Marcus, but he knew that he couldn't afford to wallow in sorrow. The Jorath would return with a vengeance, and humanity needed to be ready. "They won't stop," Marcus muttered to himself. "We have to keep pushing." But the Jorath were not the only ones who had something to hide. Humanity, too, had been holding back their most deadly weapon, one that they had only now brought to the front lines. It was a last resort, a weapon so powerful that it could turn the tide of the war in one fell swoop. The humans had been careful, hiding their true capabilities for as long as they could. They had learned from their previous battles with the Joreth that revealing too much too soon would put them at a disadvantage. But now, with their backs against the wall, the time had come to unleash everything they had. The weapon they had kept hidden was a massive AI-controlled superweapon designed to take down the Joreth fleet in one devastating blow. "Captain, the new weapon is ready for deployment." Emily's voice crackled through the comms. Marcus nodded, his jaw set with determination. "Activate it. Let's end this." The superweapon, a massive array of energy cannons embedded in a newly constructed ship known as the Revenant, was humanity's trump card. It was a project that had been in the works for years, a secret kept from the Joreth to ensure that humanity would have the upper hand when the time came. Now, that time had arrived. But even as Marcus prepared to launch the Revenant, he knew that the Joreth would not be caught off guard again. They were already adapting to humanity's tactics, and their counteroffensive would come swiftly. And so, the humans had to act fast. As the Revenant took its place in the heart of Earth's fleet, Marcus watched the monitors with a sense of unease. The ship was powerful, but it was also vulnerable. It had never been tested in battle before, and its success depended entirely on how quickly and decisively it could strike. "Launching the superweapon now," Emily announced. The massive cannons on the Revenant began to hum, their energy building to a crescendo. A blinding flash of light erupted from the ship as the energy blasts shot out in all directions, decimating the Joreth ships in their path. The aliens had no time to react, their fleets disintegrating under the sheer force of the Revenant's power. For a moment, it seemed like victory was within humanity's grasp. The Joreth fleet, once so overwhelming, was crumbling before the humans' newfound might. But the battle was far from over. As the Revenant fired its final round of energy blasts, a deafening explosion rocked the space around them. A massive Joreth ship had emerged from behind a nearby asteroid, launching a surprise attack on Earth's fleet. It was a ship unlike anything the humans had seen before, a warship equipped with energy shields and weapons far beyond what the Joreth had previously used. This was the Joreth's final trump card, and it was devastating. The Revenant's shields flickered and failed under the barrage of attacks. The ship's energy cannons had depleted their power reserves, leaving it defenseless. Marcus's heart raced as the Revenant's hull began to crack, and its vital systems failed one by one. "Captain, the Revenant is losing power. It won't last much longer," Emily shouted, panic evident in her voice. Marcus cursed under his breath. They had relied too much on their new weapon, and now it was failing them. The humans had only one option left: fight back with everything they had. In the midst of this chaos, the humans engaged in close-quarters combat with the Joreth aboard their ships. Soldiers from Earth's fleet boarded Joreth vessels, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but their resilience, their refusal to give up, gave them the strength to keep fighting. One soldier, Lieutenant Jake Harris, was among the many who led the charge. He and his team had boarded a Joreth cruiser, determined to take down their enemies from the inside. They fought through the corridors, using their advanced weapons and tactical knowledge to outsmart the Joreth soldiers at every turn. It was a fight of life and death, with no room for hesitation. Jake had always been known for his bravery, but today he was willing to sacrifice everything to protect his team. As they reached the control room of the Joreth cruiser, Jake made a split-second decision that would change everything. He set the ship's self-destruct mechanism, knowing that it would be their only chance to take down the Joreth from within. "I'll hold them off," Jake said, his voice steady despite the danger surrounding him. "You get out of here." His team protested, but Jake was resolute. He was the only one who could make sure the mission succeeded. With a final glance at his comrades, he activated the self-destruct and made his stand. The explosion was massive. The Joreth cruiser was obliterated in a fiery burst, taking out several of their ships in the process. Jake Harris had given his life to ensure humanity's survival, and his sacrifice was a testament to the strength of the human spirit. As the dust settled and the remnants of the battle floated in the vacuum of space, Marcus looked out at the wreckage. The battle was far from over, but humanity had proven something to the galaxy that day. They were not to be underestimated. They had taken down a powerful empire, and they had paid a heavy price to do so. The loss of Jake Harris was another blow, but Marcus knew that his sacrifice was not in vain. The humans had shown the Joreth that they would never give up, that they would fight until the very end. And with each loss, the humans only grew stronger, their resilience becoming the cornerstone of their strength. "We keep fighting," Marcus whispered, his voice full of conviction. "For Earth, for Jake, for every person who believes in us." And as Earth's fleet prepared for the next stage of the war, Marcus knew one thing for certain: the humans would never back down. The Joreth had underestimated them, but now they would face the full might of humanity's resilience. This was only the beginning. The final battle had arrived. The time for negotiations was over, and there was no turning back. Humanity, battered and bruised, stood at the precipice of victory. After months of fighting, of losing friends, of enduring the unthinkable, the humans had finally built their ultimate weapon, the Titan, a massive AI-controlled warship equipped with enough firepower to obliterate entire fleets in the blink of an eye. The Joreth Empire, which had once regarded Earth as nothing more than a small, insignificant planet in the vast galaxy, now faced humanity's full wrath. Their fleets had been scattered, their resources stretched thin, and their once confident leaders now stood on the edge of defeat. But despite everything, the Joreth were not ready to surrender. They would fight until the last. Captain Marcus Carter stood before the command center of the Titan, his hands gripping the cold metal of the console. The massive warship loomed behind him, its AI systems humming to life, preparing for the assault. He could feel the weight of every decision he had made, every loss he had endured, all leading to this moment. "This is it," Marcus whispered under his breath, his voice full of determination. "We finish this, here and now." The Titan was humanity's last hope. It was more than just a ship. It was the symbol of everything humanity had fought for: their resilience, their strength, and their unyielding will to survive. With the Titan unleashed, Earth's fleet was ready for the final assault. As Marcus gave the signal, the Titan activated its engines, and a blinding flash of light shot across space. The massive AI-controlled warship powered through the void, cutting through the debris of battle as if it were nothing more than dust. Its weapons, the most powerful ever conceived by humankind, powered up, ready to lay waste to the Joreth forces. The first strike came as a devastating orbital bombardment, a series of massive energy blasts that ripped through the Joreth fleet, disintegrating everything in its path. The shockwave of destruction was enough to send ripples through space itself, and for a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The Joreth had never seen anything like this before. "This is the end," Marcus muttered, watching as the enemy ships shattered into nothingness. But just as the humans believed they had won, a new threat emerged from the shadows. The Joreth, refusing to accept defeat, unleashed their final weapon, an army of AI-controlled robots designed for one purpose: total annihilation. These robots were unlike anything the humans had ever faced before. They were faster, stronger, and far more advanced than any technology the humans had developed. The Joreth Empire had poured every last ounce of their technological might into these mechanical monsters, knowing that if they were to survive, they would have to fight fire with fire. As the Titan continued to rain destruction on the Joreth fleet, the first wave of the Joreth's robot army made their appearance. Massive humanoid machines armed with plasma rifles and razor-sharp blades, they charged toward the human forces with terrifying precision. The ground shook as their heavy footsteps echoed through the battlefield, and the humans braced themselves for what was to come. "Brace for impact," Marcus shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Defensive positions now. The humans, now fully prepared, fought back with everything they had. Their weapons fired in unison, striking the oncoming robots with deadly force. But the robots were fast, moving with an eerie fluidity that made them nearly impossible to hit. Each time a shot struck, the robots would adapt, shifting their stance and countering with their own devastating firepower. The battle raged on, the humans using everything in their arsenal to fight off the relentless assault. But the robots kept coming, overwhelming them with sheer numbers. It seemed as though there was no end to the mechanical tide that had been unleashed. The Joreth had prepared for this moment, and they would not give up easily. Amidst the chaos, Captain Marcus and his team led the charge, fighting back with everything they had. He was surrounded by his most trusted soldiers, each one of them a seasoned veteran who had fought in every battle up to this point. They moved in perfect sync, using their advanced training to outmaneuver the robots and strike with pinpoint accuracy. But even with their best efforts, the robots were proving to be an insurmountable challenge. One by one, the humans were falling, their bodies strewn across the battlefield. Marcus gritted his teeth, refusing to let their sacrifices be in vain. He knew that if they couldn't stop the robots now, it would be the end for humanity. As the battle reached its peak, Marcus saw something that sent a chill down his spine. In the distance, a massive robot, larger and more advanced than anything they had faced before, was marching toward the Titan. It was the Joreth's ultimate weapon, their last hope for victory. This robot was unlike the others. It was designed to counter everything the humans had thrown at them, and its sheer size and power made it nearly unstoppable. "We can't let that thing reach the Titan," Marcus said through gritted teeth. "If it gets close, we're finished." Without hesitation, he and his team began moving toward the giant robot, their weapons raised and ready. The air crackled with energy as they advanced, firing on all cylinders to slow the massive machine's progress. But the robot shrugged off their attacks as if they were nothing, its armor resistant to their weapons. As the human forces closed in on the robot, Marcus knew that they had one chance left. He called for reinforcements, but time was running out. The massive machine was nearly upon them. In a moment of desperation, Marcus made a decision. He would have to take the fight directly to the heart of the enemy. Marcus and his team stormed the robot, fighting their way through its defenses. Their movements were quick, precise, and deadly. With every strike, they dismantled the robot's layers of armor, getting closer and closer to its core. It was a race against time as the Titan continued to battle the Joreth forces, but the robot seemed unstoppable. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, Marcus found what he was looking for, a weak spot in the robot's armor. He signaled his team to move in, and together, they delivered the final blow. The robot's core exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The remaining Joreth robots halted in their tracks, their systems overloaded by the destruction of their leader. The human forces, battered but not broken, cheered as the last of the mechanical monsters fell. The battle was finally over. In the aftermath, as the debris of the battle floated in space, Marcus stood aboard the Titan, watching the wreckage of the Joreth fleet burn in the distance. It had been a hard-fought victory, one that had come at a great cost. The price of their freedom had been steep, but humanity had proven something to the galaxy that day. No matter how powerful the enemy, no matter the odds, the human spirit could never be broken. "We did it," Marcus said quietly, his voice full of exhaustion and relief. "We did it." As the Titan slowly turned toward home, the humans knew that they had not only saved their world, but had sent a message across the stars. Evil had been defeated by the forces of good, and the galaxy would never forget the resilience of humanity. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's future had only just begun. The echoes of the final battle still reverberated through the vastness of space, the wreckage of the Joreth Empire's fleet floating as a reminder of the intense conflict that had unfolded. The Joreth Empire, once a towering force, was now shattered, their pride and their power reduced to nothing more than a fleeting memory. They had underestimated humanity. They had thought Earth to be weak, defenseless, and insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy. But they had made a grave mistake. The alien council, who had watched with disdain as the humans fought for their survival, were now forced to confront the harsh truth. They had been wrong. The Joreth had lost, and humanity stood victorious, proving that the strength of a people was not measured by their technological might, but by their courage, their unity, and their unbreakable will. The final battle had cost them dearly. Lives had been lost, friendships had been shattered, and entire worlds had been destroyed. But in the end, humanity had triumphed. They had faced down a powerful enemy and emerged victorious, not through brute strength alone, but through their resilience and determination. The Joreth, despite all their advanced technology and overwhelming numbers, had been no match for the human spirit. As the dust settled and the sounds of battle faded into the distance, Captain Marcus Carter stood before his team, gazing out at the remains of the battlefield. His heart was heavy with the weight of the sacrifices they had made. Friends lost, comrades fallen, all for the sake of ensuring that humanity's future would be secured. It was a bittersweet victory, one that came with a high price. But even in the face of loss, Marcus couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had done it. They had proven that no matter the odds, no matter how impossible the situation seemed, humanity could and would rise to the challenge. As the final remnants of the Joreth fleet drifted into the void, the alien council convened, their leaders meeting in a tense atmosphere. They had lost everything, their empire now decimated. The once mighty Joreth were humbled, and they knew it. The council's members, who had once sneered at Earth and its people, now looked upon humanity with a mix of fear and respect. The Joreth ambassador, once so confident in his people's superiority, stood before the council, his voice shaking as he spoke. "We were wrong," he admitted, his tone heavy with regret. "The humans, they are far stronger than we ever imagined. Their will to survive, their ability to adapt, it is unlike anything we've ever seen." The council members, though unwilling to show it, nodded in agreement. The reality of their defeat was setting in, and they were finally starting to understand the gravity of their mistake. In their arrogance, they had believed they could wipe out humanity with ease, but the humans had fought back with everything they had. And in doing so, they had won. Meanwhile, aboard the Titan, Captain Marcus and his team stood together, their faces marked with exhaustion, but also a quiet sense of triumph. The battle was over, but the emotional scars would remain forever. The cost of victory was high, and each member of the crew carried the weight of the lives lost. But they had persevered. They had fought for each other, for their planet, and for their future. The silence in the command room was broken by Marcus's voice. "We did it," he said softly. "We saved Earth. We saved humanity." His voice cracked with emotion, and for a moment, no one spoke. The enormity of what they had achieved, the sacrifices they had made, hung heavy in the air. But in that silence, there was also a sense of unity, a bond forged in the fires of battle. Finally, his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Harper, stepped forward. She placed her hand on Marcus's shoulder, a simple but powerful gesture of solidarity. "We did it together, Marcus, all of us." They all nodded, their eyes meeting in silent agreement. Each of them had given something, whether it was their lives, their comrades, or their unwavering determination. Together, they had overcome the greatest threat humanity had ever faced. As the team stood together, their heads held high, the Joreth ambassador returned to his council to deliver the final verdict. The alien empire, once determined to crush humanity underfoot, now saw a different path forward. In the cold chambers of the council, surrounded by the remnants of their shattered ambitions, the Joreth leaders sat in silence, awaiting the ambassador's words. With the weight of his failure bearing down on him, the Joreth ambassador stood before the council, his voice calm but resigned. "I bring you the final decision," he said, his eyes reflecting the gravity of the moment. "We have learned a harsh lesson. The humans are not the weaklings we once believed them to be. They are strong, they are resilient, and most of all, they are united. We cannot defeat them through force alone." The council members listened intently, their expressions a mix of regret and realization. They had been so sure of their superiority, so certain that their technology and their might would ensure their dominance. But they had been proven wrong. The ambassador continued, his tone now tinged with something akin to admiration. "The truth is, the path forward for us, the only path that will ensure our survival, is not through further conflict. It is through peace, through friendship with humanity." There was a brief silence as the council members exchanged looks, their minds processing the implications of the ambassador's words. In their arrogance, they had believed that Earth was a mere stepping stone in their quest for power. But now, they knew that humanity's strength was not something to be feared, but something to be respected. The final words of the ambassador echoed through the council chamber, the weight of them hanging in the air like a declaration of a new era. To fight humanity is to sign our own death warrant. The only way forward, the only way for us to ensure a future, is to stand with them. We must form an alliance, not as conquerors, but as equals. Back on Earth, Marcus and his team received the news. The Jorith Empire, once humanity's greatest enemy, had officially acknowledged their defeat and extended an olive branch. The message was clear. Peace was now the only path forward. It was a monumental moment in history. An entire empire had crumbled, not through sheer force, but through the power of human resilience and unity. In a quiet, solemn ceremony, Captain Marcus and his crew stood together one last time, their heads bowed in remembrance of the fallen. The battle had been long and hard, and while they had emerged victorious, they had paid a high price. But in the end, they knew that humanity's victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about proving to the galaxy that the human spirit could not be broken, no matter the odds. As Marcus raised his hand to salute his team, a final message came through. The Jorith had agreed to the alliance, and peace had been established. Humanity had shown the universe that even in the face of unimaginable odds, they would stand tall, united and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The last words of the story rang out as a testament to humanity's triumph over evil. In the end, it was not their strength or their technology that won the day. It was their bravery, their unity, and their unwavering belief that together they could overcome anything. Evil had been defeated, and good had triumphed. And the galaxy would never forget the lesson humanity had taught them.